All right, drummers, beginner, intermediate, everyone. You're looking at the Roland TD-02KV, the new budget electronic drum set that promises to get you playing fast. But here's what surprised me. This isn't just a toy for kids. Therefore, if you're thinking this kit is only for absolute novices, you need to hear this first. This review will show you the hidden pros and major cons that could make or break your decision. For the best price, click the link in the description. /NOK, let's get straight into it. The TD-02KV sits at the very bottom of Roland's V-Drums lineup, but that bottom position is deceptive. Therefore, we have to ask, can a kit this affordable actually feel like a Roland? The promise is solid sound, decent feel, and a straightforward setup. However, the reality has some sharp edges, and that's exactly what we're unpacking. By the end, you'll know if this is your perfect starter kit or a frustrating compromise. So, what's the first thing you notice? /N the box arrives and you're excited. Assembly is quick, they say, but the manual looks like it was translated by someone who only understands drumming through interpretive dance. Therefore, your first 10 minutes might involve holding a cymbal arm wondering if it's a medieval weapon. It's not complex, but it's not intuitive either. However, once it's up, the footprint is small, perfect for a bedroom or apartment. But then you sit down and you hit the snare. /N that first strike is crucial. The TD-02KV uses Roland's PDK-7 mesh head for the snare. It's a single-layer mesh, not the fancy dual layer of higher-end kits. But the feel, surprisingly decent. There's some bounce, some give. Therefore, for a beginner, it's miles better than a rubber pad. However, here comes the twist. The rest of the drums, the 3 toms, are not mesh. They're rubber. Roland calls them silent practice pads. But they feel like, well, rubber. This is the kit's biggest compromise. So you have a hybrid feel, 1 nice mesh snare and 3 toms that remind you of a budget gym floor. Is that a deal breaker? /N let's talk sound. The brain is the TD2. It's Roland's most basic module, but Roland's basic is still pretty good. Therefore, the built-in sounds are clean, usable, and authentically Roland. You get 15 preset kits, from rock to jazz to electronic. However, the editing is extremely limited. You can't tweak individual drum sounds deeply. It's like being given a nicely cooked meal, but no salt or pepper to adjust it. But for straight-up playing, the sounds work. The cymbals, though, present a different challenge. /N you have 1 crash, 1 ride, and the hi-hats. They're all single zone. That means the ride cymbal can't do bell sounds. The crash is just a crash. But the hi-hat is the real story here. It's a fixed rubber pad. There is no moving hi-hat pedal. Therefore, to open and close the hi-hat, you use a control pedal on the floor. It works, but it feels disconnected. Your foot is doing something, but the pad you're hitting doesn't move. This is a major gap in the realism. However, is it a deal-breaker for a first kit? Maybe not, but it's a limitation you must know. /N now, connectivity. The TD2 module has USB MIDI out, so you can plug into a computer for recording or using software like Superior Drummer. But it lacks individual audio outputs. Therefore, if you want to connect to an amp or mixer, you're stuck with the single headphone/line-out jack. This is fine for solo practice, but restrictive for growing your setup. However, the USB MIDI is a lifeline. It means this cheap kit can trigger the best software sounds in the world. So the built-in sounds are a starting point, not a prison. But what about durability? /N the frame is lightweight steel. It feels sturdy enough for practice, but I wouldn't recommend touring with it. Therefore, for home use, it's solid. However, the plastic clamps and joints are the weak points. Over-tightening them feels like a genuine risk. It's like assembling a sandwich. You don't want to crush it. But overall, the build is acceptable for the price. It won't collapse on you unless you play like a gorilla. And if you do, maybe you need a different hobby, like competitive log throwing. That's joke number 1. Let's move to the elephant in the room, or the small donkey in this case, the price. /N the TD-02KV is positioned as the entry point. But entry point to what? To Roland quality, or to a world of limitations you'll soon want to escape. Therefore, this is the core question. If your budget is absolute rock bottom and you only want Roland, this is your only choice. However, if you can stretch a little, the competition gets fierce. Brands like Alesis and Yamaha have kits at similar prices with all-mesh heads, but they often sacrifice sound quality and durability. Roland trades feel for sound and brand reliability, so it's a trade-off. Are you buying for the feel or for the Roland name and sound? Let's dive into practice features. \n the module has a coach function. It can help you with timing and accuracy, but it's not the most advanced coach in the world. Therefore, it's a nice bonus for beginners. However, you'll likely outgrow it quickly. The module also has 10 songs to play along with, but they're very basic backing tracks. It's like learning to drive with only traffic cones, no actual cars. Still, it's something. The real value is in the pure playing experience. So after all this, who wins with this kit? \n the ideal buyer is a complete beginner with a tight budget who values sound quality over pad feel. Someone who plans to use it with a computer via USB for better sounds early on. But if you're a beginner who is sensitive to feel, those rubber toms will frustrate you. Therefore, you might want to look at all-mesh alternatives, even if their brains are worse. However, if you're an intermediate player looking for a cheap secondary kit, this is not for you. The limitations are too many. It's strictly a starter pack. But even as a starter pack, it has a secret weapon. \n that secret weapon is Roland's reputation for longevity. Their gear tends to last, but will you last with this gear? Therefore, consider your upgrade path. If you buy this, you'll eventually replace everything. The module, the pads, the frame, it's a stepping stone. However, a good stepping stone is valuable. It gets you playing, and playing is the goal. Sitting there not drumming because you can't afford a TD-02KV is worse. So this kit solves the not playing problem, but it introduces the not quite satisfied problem. Let's talk about the noise. \n it's an electronic kit, so it's quiet, but the thud of sticks on rubber and mesh is not silent. Therefore, it's great for apartment living, but not magically noiseless. Your downstairs neighbor might still hear a rhythmic tapping. Think of it as a very polite drummer, not a mute one. It's like whispering loudly joke number 2. Now, the setup for recording. \n as mentioned, USB MIDI is your friend, but the audio output is basic. Therefore, recording the internal sounds directly will give you a clean but uneditable track. For any serious recording, you'll be using it as a MIDI controller. That's where its value shines. The triggers are reliable. So, in a studio context on a budget, it's a functional brainless controller. But for living room jam sessions, it's adequate. However, let's address the cymbal issue again because it's important. \n the fixed hi-hat is a big adaptation, but many beginners adapt to it. Therefore, it's not impossible. However, moving to a real kit or a higher-end electronic kit later will require relearning some hi-hat coordination. It's like learning to drive an automatic, then switching to manual. You can do it, but there's a new clutch to master, so it's a temporary simplification. But is simplification good for learning? Debate. Some say yes, some say no. I say it's a compromise you should be aware of. \n now, let's get to the final verdict. After playing it, researching it, and comparing it, here's the honest take. The Roland TD-02KV is a competent, focused, entry-level electronic drum set, but it is ruthlessly entry-level. Therefore, every component is the simplest version Roland could make. However, that simplicity comes with the benefit of Roland's core sound technology and build quality. It's the distilled essence of V-Drums in a very small bottle. For a certain buyer, it's perfect. For others, it will feel lacking. So who is it perfect for? \n first, the absolute beginner who prioritizes sound quality and brand trust over pad feel. Second, the parent buying for a child who might stick with it or might not. Roland durability is a safety net. Third, the hobbyist who wants a quiet practice option and will use computer software for sounds immediately. But if you are someone who knows you'll stick with drumming for years, and you have a bit more budget, jumping to the TD-07KV or even a used TD-17KV might save you money in the long run by avoiding an imminent upgrade. Therefore, consider your commitment level. However, if commitment is unknown, this is a safe bet. It's like dating someone nice but boring. It might work out, or you might crave more excitement very soon. That's joke number 3. \n let's recap the pros and cons quickly. Pros: Roland sound quality, compact size, USB MIDI connectivity, durable brand, decent mesh snare, quiet enough for shared spaces. Cons: rubber tom pads, fixed single-zone cymbals, no moving hi-hat, very basic module with limited editing, no individual outputs, lightweight frame that feels a bit cheap. The trade-offs are clear. But is the price right? Its current price point, it's competitive only if you value the Roland name above all. Therefore, check the price against all mesh kits from other brands. Do a feature-by-feature comparison. However, remember that features aren't everything. Long-term reliability and sound are Roland's strengths, but if you just want to hit mesh heads today, another brand might please you more. It's a classic dilemma, brand prestige versus immediate tactile satisfaction, like choosing between a reliable, bland car and a flashy, less reliable one. One last joke, buying this kit is like getting a pizza with great sauce but average cheese. You'll enjoy it, but you'll dream about the upgrade. /and so, what's the final call? If the problems I've described, the rubber toms, the static cymbals, the basic brain sound like hurdles you can live with for a year or two, then the TD-02KV is a valid, trustworthy starting point. It will get you drumming. But if those limitations sound like daily frustrations that will demotivate you, then look elsewhere or save up for the next model. Therefore, your decision hinges on patience versus immediate gratification. However, no matter what you choose, getting started is the win. The worst kit is the one you don't own, and the best kit is the one you play every day. /N for the most up-to-date pricing, and to check if any deals are running, always click the link in the description below. That's where you'll find the best price on Amazon for the Roland TD-02KV. Thanks for sticking with this honest review. Now go make some noise, or with this kit, some polite rhythmic tapping.